Welcome to Uncle Jimmy's podcast. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation.
What is up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to Uncle Jimmy's podcast, Saturday morning. Before we get in, we're going to thank our sponsor, Ferg's Custom Cards. He creates custom cards, anything you can think of, Ferg can make. Go follow him at Ferg's Custom Cards on Instagram and on Facebook. And go follow the show at Uncle Jimmy's podcast, wherever. So today we're going to get into the first topic of Uncle Jimmy's podcast. Everybody's been asking me, why the name Uncle Jimmy's podcast? Well, I grew up with some of the greatest uncles on the planet that I looked up to and I admired. My Uncle Biff, my Uncle Joe, my Uncle Danny, my Uncle Brian Gosnell, some of the strongest guys that I know. I had some strong aunts as well, my Aunt Tricia, my Aunt Margie, my Aunt Tracy. But Uncle Jimmy's podcast comes from my uncles. And also wanting to be like them, which they were the greatest. Always there to show you love, tough love, but always there, always present, always constant. That's a big thing in my family, and I try to strive and be like them. And also because I have two beautiful and kind and caring, loving nephews and a niece, and I love being an uncle to them. I love everything about it. I love everything about them, and I strive to be like my uncles that were great to me as a kid, that are still great to me to this day. Take, for instance, yesterday. My Uncle Biff passed away last year, and we had a golf tournament for him, and family and friends, and everybody showed up and showed out and showed support, and that's what it's all about. You know, one of the hottest things I find, though, is that when people are alive, we have to give them their flowers, their due, when they're here. You know, not that we didn't with my Uncle Biff, because my Uncle Biff was the best, and I have a lot of great stories about him, and my Uncle Joe, my Uncle Danny as well, my Uncle Brian. But yesterday we had the tournament for my Uncle Biff, and it was great to see all his friends, all my dad's friends, all of Joe's friends, Danny's friends, you know, and just family, and spend the day with family. Oftentimes now we only spend and get together when it's, you know, a holiday or a death, and we need to get together more and celebrate life, celebrate every day that we have, every day above ground. It's a blessing, and too many people take that for granted. Being alive and getting up every morning, and yeah, sometimes it sucks. You got to get up and go to work, but the bills got to be paid, and the house got to be taken care of, and there got to be food on the table. But that's what we do. That's what we do as humans, and that's what we do as a family. You know, come together and take care of one another, not just in sickness, but in health. And show love and show up. A constant presence, a constant force in your life. You know, like my Uncle Joe, for instance. We were close growing up. He was always taking care of me. You know, I always talk about the hand-me-downs when I was playing hockey. And my father would always give me the hand-me-downs from my brother Patrick. And my Uncle Joe one day had enough, went out, soup to nuts, skates, everything he can think of, he went and got me. And it wasn't about the things he was buying me. It was about spending time with my uncle, you know, and spending time with him when he didn't have a girlfriend. He's married now with two beautiful girls who are the best. They're almost, you know, they're like my sisters, my two cousins. One's off in college and the other one's just doing her thing, working at the ice cream shop, having fun. But all my uncles were unique in their own way. But the one thing that was constant was the love that they shared with us, the love that they showed us, and the love that they taught us and how to give it, you know, and how to receive it. My Uncle Biff, I spent a lot of time down in New York City with him when he was living there. He was working for FEMA, and we had so much fun. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't about going down and, you know, getting to see Biff. It was just about spending time with him. He was the kindest, caring, most loving guy, but fun. He had so much fun in life, and he was the best. You know, just, I can't heap enough praise on my uncles and my aunts as well, for giving me the love that I needed, the love that I need. Not just when things were going well, but when things were going bad. You know, when I was struggling, when I couldn't get out of bed and I couldn't go to work and I didn't want to go to work. But, you know, one of the constants in my life has been my Aunt and Uncle Joe. Two of the greatest people you'd ever meet. They had two kids later on in life. My Uncle Joe's 70 now. as I like to crack jokes with him. He's not 70 though. He's 69. But the love that they show me each and every day, and the love that they have for each other, is unbelievable. It's something like I've never seen before. You know, I've seen my mom and dad. They loved each other. I've seen Papa and Nana Leary, Rip and Claire. You know, they loved each other. But these two, it's like they're on their first date. It's like they're, you know, just fell in love. And the love is constant with the two of them. The love that they show me, the love that they show my family, the love that they show their daughters. You know, and I've learned so much from them. And I'm so gracious that I get to live with them and see that love every day. You know, one of the biggest things that I can't get and wrap my head around is what's happened in this world to spreading love and loving one another. You know, everything now is so divisive. Everyone now is at each other's throats. Everyone wants to fight. Everyone wants to argue. There's no love. It's all hate. Like, come on, people. What the fuck are we doing here? You know? And right now, the biggest thing in America is everyone's bashing the immigrants. Everyone's coming after immigrants, you know. You have to remember that at one point in time, unless you're a Native American, our families, whether it was your father, your grandfather, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, came here from another country to pursue the American dream. Our families came here with nothing and built the lives that we have today. And I thank them for that, and I thank them for making that travel over here to America. And so we today can enjoy the American dream. We can enjoy the pursuit of happiness and love. And, you know, sometimes it gets lost that at one point in time we were all immigrants that came to this place. They need to stop painting a broad brush with immigrants. Immigrants do so much for this country. And I understand that people are upset and people are pissed off, but to sit there and point and blame the immigrants for a lot of stuff that's going on in this country, it's absolutely terrible. You know, they come here and fight and fight and fight for everything that they get. Everything that they get. Yeah, I'm all for, you know, ICE rounding up the bad guys, the criminals, the illegal criminals, you know, the ones that are committing heinous crimes, the ones that are selling drugs. But the ones that came here for a better life and, you know, don't have papers but have been here for 20 plus years, 30 plus years, 10 plus years, and are great people and pay their taxes and great citizens while wanting to become citizens, there's nothing wrong with that. They don't need to be shipped back to a country that they haven't been to in 10, 20, 30 years because they came here. You know, a lot of people came here back in the day without papers, and if we were to start shipping all immigrants back, we all need to be shipped back then. Shipped back to where we all started. You know, unless you're Native American, everybody goes back. So people need to stop with the hate. We need the political storm now in America is Republicans versus Democrats, the radical left, the radical right. You know, everybody in D.C., take a fucking deep breath. Everybody in America, take a fucking deep breath. Seek some fucking help if you need it. Go out and get that help. Go out and talk to people. Hug one another. Love one another, but no violence. There's no reason for that. We come from the greatest country in the world. We're in the greatest country in the world. But, you know, people like Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, you know, Sheldon Adelson, who's gone now, but his family, and the Koch brothers with multi-billionaires that have polluted American society with bullshit. You know, also CNN, Fox, MSNBC, they have all spun false narratives and they've all spun false news to have each other at each other's throats and to be fighting with one another. They're all to blame. And each of us need to take a look in the mirror, do some deep soul searching, and know that our great days in America are ahead of us. We need to stop with this political violence. We need to stop with violence in general. It's not solving anything. The news media needs to stop the sensationalism on these stories of, oh, this far left, this far right, this shooter, this one, that one. You know, all these people that are out there committing acts of violence, there's something wrong with them, obviously. The mental health in this country has gone off a cliff. Nobody's paying attention and nobody cares because the media just wants to portray it as the left versus the right. In America, there shouldn't be any sides. It should just be us, the U.S., the United States of America, the people of this great country, the people that get up every day, that pay their bills, that pay their taxes, that go to work. And some people that can't work, some people that, are struggling. But in America, the struggle is real right now, and people aren't realizing that because the media and these politicians have each other fighting with one another, have us at each other's throats, and it's unacceptable. Go over. If you don't know your neighbor, introduce yourself. If you don't know your neighbor 3 doors down, go introduce yourself. We need to get back to the days of love and no hate. Stop spreading hate. I got some planes going above me now as I'm recording this, so you may hear that. But the hate needs to stop. The days of, at each other's throats need to be gone. And right now, we need to spread love. There's too much hate in this world. Hate for one another for what? There's love and hate are 2 strong words. And love needs to overcome, be full in your heart, and the hate needs to go away. If you don't like somebody, don't talk. If you love somebody, give them a hug. If you don't want to talk with somebody, just keep it moving. It's not going to ruin your day. It's not going to make your day any worse or better. Don't engage then. Politics now. My father always used to tell me there's 2 things we don't talk about at the dinner table: politics and religion. And people right now are just up in arms about politics. And like I said, the media is to blame. The politicians are to blame. Enough is enough. Let's go, people. Let's take back our country. Not the right, not the left, but as Americans. As Americans. That's why I started this podcast, so I could give a voice to the people, give unbiased opinions, but my own opinions. I'm one of 8 billion people on this planet, and this is just my take. There's other takes, there's other people you can listen to, but their message needs to be clear and concise that we need to love each other. There's no room for hate. There's no room at all. As you can see on my last podcast, I like to say I was born and raised, I'm a Democrat. I've always voted Democrat because I believe that's who I align myself with. But I had Jacob Trimble on, he's a Republican running for Congress in Kentucky. This is what my platform's all about. Everyone is welcome here. Everyone has a voice here. But hate will not be allowed and hate's not tolerated on this podcast. One of my biggest things is that I always want to be a voice of reason. If you support Donald Trump, I can listen to you. If you support the Democrats, I can listen to you. If you support whoever you support, I can listen to you and I can take in your opinion because as Americans, we all have opinions. We're allowed that. In some countries, you can't even have your opinions. In some countries, women can't even drive. But in America, the land of the free, the home of the brave, we can do what we want. We can say what we want without fear of violence, without fear of repercussions. Yeah, you can't be, race baiting and being crazy and talking nonsense. Yeah, it's free speech, but it's hate speech. And we need to stop with all the hate and love one another and totally believe in that, And like I said, I have found myself not stuck anymore with the Democrats, and I'm not a Republican. I'm going to be an independent because I've learned so much as my work in the labor movement and from, listening to these politicians when I go to D.C. and listening to them on the news and listening to them on C-SPAN. C-SPAN's one of the greatest. If you want to listen to what the politicians are saying without clips and snippets and you want to hear fully their speeches and fully what they have to say, I implore you, watch C-SPAN. Yeah, I sound like a 75-year-old guy. Yeah, go watch C-SPAN. But it's unbiased, and it's great coverage. You can listen floor speeches. You can listen to press conferences. You can listen to everything they say, because on the news, they're gonna clip it, they're gonna snip it, and they're gonna show you the worst in taking everything out of context. So go watch that. Go do your own research. You don't have to listen to what the mainstream media says. Go and do your own research. Go and watch C-SPAN. Go and follow these things and look at for yourself from an unbiased perspective. But I was getting back to about Democrats and Republicans and far left and far right. When it comes to elections now, the way I look at them is I'm voting for who I align myself with, how their views on issues affect me and affect my community. And that's how I'm voting. If they're for me and they're going to help me out, I'm going to vote. But if I don't align myself with their views and how they talk and how they conduct themselves, they're not getting my vote. It's very simple. In America, you go into the ballot box and you cast your vote. But there's too much hate right now. We need to spread the love, and I hate to keep saying that. We need to spread love. We need to spread love. But we need to. That message is clear. In America, we need to spread love. So we're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to get into the government shutdown and who's to blame. So the U.S. government is shut down. It shut down October 1st, 2025, all because Congress failed to pass a funding bill due to deep partisan disagreements, primarily over health care subsidies and Medicaid cuts. Here's a breakdown of what I believe led to the shutdown. The shutdown began when Congress missed the deadline to pass funding legislation for the 2026 fiscal year, which started October 1st. Democrats have demanded the reversal of recent Medicaid cuts and an extension of Affordable Care Act subsidies, which are set to expire and could spike insurance premiums. Republicans refused, pushing a stopgap funding bill that excluded those provisions. It's failed to get the 60 Senate votes needed to advance. I'll get into the resolution at the very end of what I believe can be done to fix this and to push through and get the government reopened. President Donald Trump and Republican leaders blamed Democrats for blocking the GOP's short-term funding plan. The Democrats countered that the GOP's refusal to negotiate on health care and social spending forced the shutdown. The impasse reflects broader polarization over the size and role of government, with Trump's administration threatening layoffs and permanent agency closures to shrink federal operations. Both a Democrat-backed bill, which included health care provisions, and a Republican stopgap bill to fund the government through November 21st, failed in the Senate. The shutdown has furloughed over 800,000 federal employees, with another 700,000 working without pay, including TSA agents, NIH staff, and CDC personnel. There's no clear end in sight, though betting markets suggest a deal might pass before October 31st. Congress could pass a continuing resolution to temporarily reopen the government, but negotiations remain stalled. The government shutdown affects hundreds of thousands of federal workers, key public services, and millions of Americans who rely on federal programs. Here's who's impacted. Non-essential employees are placed on furlough, meaning they're sent home without pay. This includes staff from agencies like the Environmental Protection Agency, Department of Education, and the Commerce Department, which have some of the highest furlough rates. Essential employees, such as those in law enforcement, military, and air traffic control, they must continue working without pay until the shutdown ends. The Trump administration has threatened mass layoffs if the shutdown persists, targeting roles deemed not consistent with the president's priorities. Government services and agencies. Closed or disrupted services include national parks and monuments closed to visitors, ranges furloughed. Environmental and food inspections paused. That risks public health oversight. The IRS, there's delays in tax processing and verification services. And at the NIH, no new patients admitted or grants processed. Services that continue. Social Security and Medicare. Benefits still delivered, though some delays may occur. Veteran affairs, medical care and benefits continue with minimal disruption. Federal law enforcement agencies like the FBI, DEA, and Secret Service remain operational. Families relying on WIC and SNAP may face delays or disruptions in food assistance benefits. Students and borrowers, the Department of Education is affected, which could delay FAFSA processing and student loan services. Healthcare recipients, cuts to Medicaid and expiring Obamacare subsidies could raise premiums and reduce access. That's just a little breakdown of the government shutdown and what it affects and who it affects. So now we're going to get into what I think is the main reason behind it.
I don't know what the hell it is. It's Project 25. He's involved in Project. And then they read some of the things, and they are extreme. I mean, they're seriously extreme. But I don't know anything about it. I don't want to know anything about it.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to.
So there you have it. President Trump back when he was running for president, talking about Project 2025. He has nothing to do with it, nothing at all. But then here we have a post from Donald Trump on Truth Social. I have a meeting today with Russ Voigt, he of Project 2025 fame, to determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut, and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity. They are not stupid people, so maybe this is their way of wanting to quietly and quickly make America great again. President DJT. Again, Project 2025. I'm going to break it down. The shutdown is not a glitch. It's a plan. As soon as the government shuts down, Trump's allies, like Russ Voigt, gain extraordinary power to terminate, restructure, and defund entire agencies without going through Congress. That's why they wanted it. They're not negotiating, they're executing a purge. Again, let me say that again. They're going to terminate, restructure, and defund entire agencies without going through Congress. That's why they wanted it. They're not negotiating, they're executing a purge. Because the big problem is that the Republicans are saying the Democrats want illegals to have health insurance. But people forget, in 1986, Ronald Reagan signed the Emergency Medical Treatment and Active Labor Act, guaranteeing health services to all undocumented immigrants. And then in 2025, Trump shuts down the government, claiming Dems passed the law. No, that was Ronnie Reagan who passed the law. And all hospitals cannot turn away anybody. But again, that's the plan. The plan was to shut the government down. Not the Republicans, not the Democrats, Trump and his minions, so they can do the dirty work. Because my solution to the problem is, what they could do is they could go to the nuclear option. Republican senators, if they wanted to pass the CR, the continuing resolution and reopening the government, they could by using the nuclear option to override the 60-vote rule and pass the CR with the simple majority. There's 53 Republican senators. The Senate knows how to do it, having recently used the so-called nuclear option, a procedure that allows the party in power to update the rules with the simple majority vote to push through dozens of President Trump's nominees. Again, let me say that. They could go for the nuclear option to reopen the government if they wanted to. They don't want to. Again, I hate to blame anybody, but it's on them so they can do the dirty work and cut what they want without having to go through Congress. It's a sad day in America. The powers to be are grabbing the power and holding on and doing what they can to eliminate everything. This is not theater. This is truth, and this is what's going on in this country right now. We're going to listen to what President Trump, before he became president, had to say about who's to blame if the government was to shut down. Here you go. Listen to his own words.
I hear the Democrats are going to be blamed and the Republicans are going to be blamed. I actually think the president would be blamed. If there is a shutdown, I think it would be a tremendously negative mark on the president of the United States. He's the one that has to get people together.
They're not going to be talking who the head of the House was, the head of the Senate, who's running things in Washington. So I really think the pressure is on the president.
There you go. From his lips to God's ears. The president is the one to blame. And that's what we have here. The Republicans could go with the nuclear option, reopen the government, pass their CR if they fully believed in it, but they're not doing that because the plan all along, while running Project 2025, look it up, go research it. It's not good for any of us, Project 2025. But again, it's just bullshit. If they want to reopen, they can. But they don't want to. They want to destroy everything because he's the president. He's the boss. He's going to do what he wants, and that's it. The rich kid from New York who's never been told no in his life. There's no one in power, Republican power. There's a few, but not all. The majority of them literally bow at his feet. It's disgusting. And the whole issue, the Republicans say, oh, the Democrats want illegals to have health care. No, that's a law that Ronald Reagan passed in 86. So you guys need to get the facts right and listen to what the government's doing. Again, both parties need to get their shit together and stop fighting for America. I mean, look at, everyone's up in arms. The government shut down, but Trump just gave $20 billion to Argentina for farms and soybeans. But what people don't realize is that the farmers in America are being screwed. The ones that voted for Trump, the ones that didn't vote for Trump, all farmers are being screwed. Here we have a little breakdown of what one of the farmers is saying about the bailout of Argentina from the Trump administration. And the big thing here is that Argentina is buying all their stuff. China's buying all their stuff from Argentina. China used to buy it from this guy in America, but now he goes to Argentina. And listen to what he has to say.
Well, like we talked earlier, we went from 12 billion to zero. And then, as a farmer, we get up one morning and you give Argentina, which is our second biggest competition in the world. They're the largest exporters of soybean meal in the world. So I get up one morning, I turn the news on, and you give $20 billion of taxpayer money to my competition. And then the Chinese buy, I think the figure is 30 or 40 containers, ships, which is about 65,000 metric tons per ship, which is like 2.2 million bushels. So they buy 12 or 14 billion dollars worth of soybeans from the Argentinians after the tax holiday. And here's the caveat to it. They give $2.30 over the November board, while I'm getting 50 cents under the November board. So that makes the Argentinian soybeans about $12.42 a bushel. I think that's the real figure they gave. So all my premium went.
Scott, I just lost you there at the end. You said your premiums go.
They all went to Argentina.
So you heard him there. All his premiums are going to Argentina. China buys all the soybean from Argentina. Trump gives Argentina $20 billion, bails them out. Where's the bailout for the Americans? Where's the bailout for the American farmers? Same ones that put you in office. Absolutely ridiculous. And on a side note, Trump's always touting the $17 million in tariffs coming in. He keeps telling us that his team just keeps finding billions here and billions there from the tariff shelf. Well, Mr. President, where is the money? Where is the bailout for the farmers? Where's the help for average Americans? We're not getting it. You're not getting it. We need to stop. We need to focus and do what's right for all Americans, not just those in the 1% that you love to take care of day in and day out, night in and night out. And now we're going to transition over to all this rhetoric coming from both sides, but I'm going to focus in on the whole thing of the Republicans blaming the Democrats for name calling. But we're going to get into some of the name calling that the Republicans have openly touted, from J.D. Vance to President Trump to Mike Johnson. So here we go. Let's listen to what they had to say. And I believe that none of this is acceptable on both sides, and both parties need to get their shits together and their heads out of their ass and work fucking together, because we're Americans first. Enough with the bullshit, enough with the rhetoric. Get in the fucking room, close the door, old school Bronx Tale style, now yous can't leave, and fucking get it done, because enough is enough. Now here we go.
That's not helpful. That is not productive, and it leads to bad consequences. Leaders cannot call their political opponents Nazis and fascists and enemies of the state because they disagree with their policy priorities. I mean, this is something we should have learned in grade school. This type of language spurs on depraved people, deranged people who take that as a cue. And this
before about past comments that you've made about Donald Trump. You've said, I'm a never Trump guy, never liked him, terrible candidate, idiot if you voted for him, might be America's Hitler, might be a cynical a-hole, cultural heroine, noxious and reprehensible. Those are things that...
Fascist person running who's incompetent. She's a Marxist, communist, fascist, socialist. She's not actually a socialist. She's gone past that. Somebody's got to explain this woman. There's a radical left Marxist, communist, fascist.
So there you go. You have Mike Johnson saying it's not helpful, it's not productive, stop with the name calling. Then you hear the president's own vice president, J.D. Vance, who once referenced Donald Trump is America's Hitler, and then Trump at the end just spouting off about Kamala Harris. You know, it goes on both sides, but enough is enough, people. We need to get back to being the shining light, the beacon of hope and faith and love in America. We need to stop with all this political bullshit. We need to come together as one, and we need to do what's right. I miss the days of having a president that could get up there and articulate his words and speak. And I know people say, oh, you don't have to be a great speaker to be president. You don't have to be. Right now, in the world, our standing, people are laughing at us. It's not funny. It's not a joke. It's legit. And all these people that, you know, love Trump, great for you. You voted for him. That's what America's about, voting and having the right to vote and cast your vote. But remember, elections have consequences, and you're seeing the consequences of the election in who you may have or have not voted for. Again, peace and love. Peace and love. I hope you enjoyed it. Form your own opinion. Don't watch mainstream media. Do your own research. And Uncle Jimmy out.
Let me tell you something. The United States of America is the most powerful nation on earth. Period. Period. It's not even close. It's not even close. It's not even close. We spend more on our military than the next 8 nations combined. Our troops are the finest fighting force in the history of the world. No nation attacks us directly or our allies because they know that's the path to ruin.